Okay, so all I'm doing here is just sort of showing uh, the query capability of the Solr AI module. This, what you see now, is by no means what the final UI is going to look like. I was just trying to basically put together a mock-up of how hopefully it will work moving forward. So what you see now is an actual, what I'm going to demonstrate here is an actual chat completion process between my Drupal content store and OpenAI running on a Drupal site. Now, what has already happened is that all of the content for this site, which I call Demo 9, and then another uh, site, policy site, Sterling, um, this content has already been embedded, it's already been vectorized. So it's actually running on a Drupal site. It's been um, uploaded. We're using the Weaviate database, so it's been uploaded into a vector store, and it is that vector store that we will be using with the queries that you'll be seeing later on. So again, I just want to point out that this is a mock-up, this is a test, um, and just to show uh, that conceptually, at least, this whole Solr AI system does work and will deliver the sort of responses, I believe, that we're looking for in a chat conversational type of AI powered, AI driven rather, scenario. All right, let's get started. Okay, so this is the flowchart that I previously posted of the chat completion process I'm using for queries. So this is how I intend to have a conversational chat with the Drupal content that I have embedded, vectorized. So let's see here. So again, basically, we start with a question. Is it the first question? If it is the first question, right, then we don't have chat history, and we go to embed it. If it is, I'm sorry, if it isn't the first question, right, then we're going to take that question uh, with the chat history, and then we're going to submit it to get what we call a standalone question. Okay, and then we're going to take that, submit that standalone question. I'm sorry. Do, 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 do. Right, right. So this basically is the process here where we create the standalone question. Okay, so like I say, if it's the initial question with no chat history or the standalone question, both of them we're going to get an embedding for. Now, using Weaviate, we don't need to go get an embedding because Weaviate automatically embeds your query. So that's the really good part. All right then. So I'm going to find right in this flowchart. I actually showed two ways that you go about retrieving your context documents from your vector store based on your question. I'm going to just show the Weaviate because that's what I'm using right now. But I do have in the flowchart Pinecone. Okay, so once I get a standalone question, I then submit that standalone question to OpenAI to get a concept, right, for the question. And it is with that concept, it is that concept that I use in order to retrieve the context documents for my question. Uh, so let's see, yeah. So again, I get a concept. So whatever the question is, I narrow it down to what that concept is, and then I submit that concept to the Weaviate vector store. And what it does is it comes back with documents, context documents that I've stored, and these would be documents that are basically embedded data from the Drupal site. So I retrieve the context documents, right, and from Weaviate, and then the next thing I do is my chat completion, which is basically submitting the documents and the question or standalone question to the OpenAI model. It then gives me an answer, and hopefully it's a good answer. But in that process, what I do is I add that standalone question and answer to the chat history. Okay, and then then I continue on, and if I have a follow-up question, then that's where I ask here, and then we go all the way back to the top of the standalone question portion, right? Because what happens is if I have a follow-up question, right, then again I have to take it, I have to get a standalone question from it. We then submit that to the vector store. I'm sorry. We get the concept. We submit to the vector store, and then from the concept we get the new documents. Now, because the new question now that I've asked now also includes the chat history, we basically are going to be sending to the to both Weaviate and AI basically questions where it will understand the context. It will know, for example, if we were talking about a particular article, a Star Trek article involving Star Trek, right? It's going to know when it receives the next question that that's the context of our conversation. It has the history, and it also has its previous response. So, at any rate, this is how we basically get the machine, the AI machine, to understand what we're talking about when we're talking about it. So we don't have to keep telling it every time we ask a question. It doesn't have to be a new question. It can be within the context of our conversation. So I have this Drupal 8.9 site, Drupal version. I guess it's running Drupal version 9 actually, and we use this basically for demonstrations and so forth. But what what I did was I uploaded some content to this site. I uploaded was a bunch of test stuff in here, but there's an article about Harlan Ellison's lawsuit with Paramount and CBS, Paramount CBS. And there's actually two articles. One about the which was the first one where he sued Paramount, actually, and the WGA, for an episode of Star Trek that he wrote. That I guess he felt he wasn't fairly compensated for. And then there was a follow-up article when the lawsuit was settled. There's also another article that mentions Star Trek. It's a Netflix CBS deal, which Star Trek was included in it. And, of course, this was before Paramount Plus. This is a few years ago. And then there is another node that I created. And in it, I put the Directors Guild of America, the 2020 agreement, and also the combined WGA CBA agreement from 2020. So, and again, I didn't really format any of this stuff. I just basically uploaded the the entire PDF. What is it, like 754 pages? And that is the 2020 Writers Guild of America, Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers, Theatrical and Television Basic Agreement. Okay, so I'm mentioning all of this because this is the context of what we will be searching. Again, a couple of, if I can go back to that, where was that? Where was that? There's always trouble finding, getting back to where I was. Yeah. So again, was it a couple of articles about a Star Trek lawsuit, an article about a distribution deal with Netflix, which involves Star Trek, and then a Writers Guild of America agreements for testing. Writers Guild of America, a couple of huge PDFs. So here I just want to show some examples of keyword searching for the documents that I'm playing around with. So the first one, or the first set of documents rather, had to do with the Star Trek. And as you can see here, if I type in Star Trek, it actually finds 1, 2, 3 documents that have Star Trek, and then as you can see, the rest of the documents here just simply have star in the and maybe might even be one that has Trek in it. But anyway, so the ones that we're working with would be the Netflix CBS deal, and then the Trek writer who sues Paramount, and then what was the other one? Oh yeah, and then of course the Trek writer who happens to be Harlan Ellison settles the lawsuit with Paramount. Okay, cool. And then that writer happened to be Harlan Ellison. Let's see what comes up. So only 2 documents. Again, the Trek writer sues Paramount article, and what was this other one here? And Ellison Paramount settle suit. Ooh, cool. All right. And then the third thing we're going to search for is WGA, which stands for Writers Guild of America. And as you see here, again, it's mentioned in our Trek Writer Sues Paramount article. It's mentioned in the Ellison Paramount Settle Suit article. And then we actually have the entire combined WGA CBA agreement. So, as you can see here, the search is different. This is the type of search that we've been doing, at least for the past 30 years, where we basically have to put in keywords, right, that we're looking for, and then hope they come up. So let's say that I wanted something where it talks about Star Trek and the WGA. Right, I just put in star, right, so you can see we would have to search for it in this manner, and we have one document here, which is of course the article, Trek Writer article, and then we have a second here where we see Star Trek and WGA, and that's the Ellison Paramount Settle Suit. And do we see anything else? No, but it's not really apparent because of course it's matching keywords, so WGA, star, and then if it finds Trek. So essentially this is how we've been searching, right, for the past 30 years. And what I hope to do with SolrAI is introduce more conversational chat types of queries, the semantic search, if you will, that is searching by the concept of the idea and not the actual keywords. My other favorite context retention example has to do with Star Trek. Let's just ask, what do you know about Star Trek? How's that for a question? Okay, Star Trek is a popular science fiction television series. One notable episode from the original series is titled City on the Edge of Forever, written by Harlan Ellison. The episode, which first aired in April 1967, centers on time travel and stars Joan Collins. This episode won the WGA Teleplay Award with the Hugo Award. Harlan Ellison filed a lawsuit against CBS Paramount over their alleged failure to pay him for the merchandising, publishing, and other exploitations of this episode. Ellison also sued the Writers Guild of America for its alleged failure to act on his behalf. The lawsuit eventually settled, but the terms of the settlement were not disclosed. Okay, this is actually everything that you'd want to know, but let's see, what other question could we ask? How about who won? Let's just say who won, assuming from here that we would be talking about the lawsuit. Who won the lawsuit? There we go. So that is the standalone question which is submitted. And we have no Solr results in the response. That's interesting. Okay. Let's ask the question, who won Harlan Ellison lawsuit? should have answered that question. That's interesting. So I must have changed something because it is not giving me this context. What about Star Trek deal with CBS? No, Star Trek deal with Netflix, because I know there's some information on that in there. All right, so maybe what I need is I need to turn the concepts on, right? And then ask the question again, who won the lawsuit? And see what happens. So it should jump back up to the earlier question about who won the Harlan Ellison lawsuit. There we go. So it looks like sending what made the difference here was that instead of sending the direct question to Weaviate to search for the context documents, I took the question and made it a concept instead. So I basically simplified it down into a concept designed to find examples in the documents. And that appears to work. So I was wondering, was there a reason I should use the concepts? And yes, there is. Raw questions sometimes do not work, particularly the standalone questions. So let's see, what else did we want to ask here? Since we've got their attention. Harlan Ellison won the lawsuit against CBS Paramount. Episode of Star Trek. He settled the lawsuit, but the terms of the settlement were not disclosed. He stated he was pleased with the outcome in a posting on his website. Okay. And what else can we ask about this stuff? Let's see. Any other documents? Oh no, I don't want to ask that because I have WGA documents. Is the WGA response? Okay, so I know not to use WGA. It doesn't like that. So is the Writers Guild of America responsible for representing writers in disputes with studios? That's an interesting question. And let's see what our answer is. He sought only $1 million in damages plus attorney fees and court costs. The primary target lawsuit was CBS Paramount, but the terms of the let's see. So CBS Paramount and the WGA of breaching the collective bargaining agreement. So is the guild responsible for representing writers in studio disputes? Let's ask that again, because we do have some WGA documentation in here. Okay, so the standalone question. So I would really need to, because it's confusing, the fact that I was talking about Harlan Ellison's representation. So with just overall, but yes, it did answer the question. And this time it searched the Guild documents. Yes, the Writers Guild of America is responsible for representing writers in disputes with studios. The WGA safeguards the creative rights of writers under the WGA Minimum Basic Agreement and addresses issues related to professional status and writer participation in production process. Let's see, although the specific lawsuit between Harlan Ellison and CBS Paramount over the City on the Edge of Forever episode of Star Trek is not mentioned in the context documents, it can be assumed that the WGA would have played a role in representing Ellison in the dispute. Where in the, what was this? Where in the, what is that called? Where in the minimum basic agreement is this addressed? Where is this type of issue? Where is okay, where's this type of issue addressed? Let's try that, see what happens. Okay, the representation of writers in disputes with studios is addressed in the WGA Minimum Basic Agreement under Article 10, Grievance and Arbitration. This article outlines the matters that can be submitted to grievance and arbitration, such as disputes concerning the interpretation of the agreement terms, alleged breaches of the agreement, and claims for unpaid compensation. So I think this is doing a great job of maintaining context for one, but also of taking advantage of the documents at its disposal and searching them. And it appears to be that having concepts on increases that that efficiency. Although I am, so yes, if I go back up here, I asked it twice about what was that? Who won the lawsuit? And both times it really didn't answer. And it didn't answer until I turned on concepts. So, and I believe it didn't answer because within the context of that conversation, it believed that I was still, I'm sorry, it believed that we were still talking about, where is that? Well, we were talking about Harlan Ellison, and we were talking about his lawsuit, but I didn't have the concepts turned on, so I'm not sure why, but apparently formulating your question into a concept to be used to search the Weebly documents appears to give better results. Okay, I'm following up on this query issue that I had because it's very important. All right, so the question I asked within the context of this conversation here was who won, and that was in the context of the previous response, which was about Harlan Ellison suing the Writers Guild, CBS and the Writers Guild of America over a Star Trek script that he had written. And so a standalone question was generated, and that standalone question is what you see here. Who won the lawsuit between Harlan Ellison and CBS Paramount over the City on the Edge of Forever episode of Star Trek? And you see that I get no Solr results found in the response, which is curious, right? Because it just finished saying the same thing. And again, this is just a standalone question that was generated. So I went to the Weebly console and I typed that in, right? Exactly. Right? Clicked it, and what do you know? Got a syntax error here, right? So I'm looking at it and I say, whoa, what's going on? Ah, the double quotes, right? So I need to replace that with single quotes and see what happens. And who won the City on the Edge of Forever, Star Trek, vectorized programs, remote client, API key. Ugh, Jesus, no API key file. Okay, let's pause. Okay, Weebly, you guys really need to do something about this. Have to keep putting the header in every time. So anyway, again, what I did was I removed the double quotes from City on the Edge of Forever, and there you go, at a distance of what, 0.07. So here are the documents which discuss the lawsuit and who won, which, well, Harlan Ellison didn't really win. He settled it, but I guess semantically you could say he won because he got, what he wanted. So at any rate, the issue here appears to have been a syntax error, right? So when the standalone question here was created, right, and it said no Solr results, that was because it was generating a syntax error. Same thing, when the asks the standalone question here, same thing, had that double quotes in there. So I need to modify my code in order to always replace double quotes with single quotes. All right. Well, I'm glad I solved that.